Sophie was born at 34 weeks. I'd gone in for a routine appointment. The doctor put the Doppler on, and I saw her hands visibly shake, so I knew something wasn't right. And her heart was in the 300s rather than around, so it was doubling. So her heart, basically, she has an extra electrical path, so it was stuck. So it sounded like a choo-choo train. So there was no break in between. And so next thing I know, we were, go pack some stuff and go to Fredericton. And so we went there, and they at first couldn't get her to move, because she was in what they call high drops. So basically everything was starting to fail, and she had a lot of fluid on her from her heart condition. So off we went to Halifax. My husband worked in the woods at the time, so it was hard to get a hold of him. So I had to go, of course, by myself, and I knew he was coming along. And it's funny, though, I did a lot of deep breathing, and of course a lot of praying. And it's amazing what deep breathing does for you. I often say that to people, like it really can get you through things. So once we got to Halifax, stuff started moving quite fast, and then when Richard came along, as I said to or have thought about many times, seeing his shoes was the best thing I think I've ever seen. Just knowing he was there, and. So the neonatal team came in, and they told us that that you won't hear her cry, that as soon as she was born, they were going to intubate her. And, of course, she was over 7 pounds, so she looked like a beautiful, newborn baby. And but, yeah, you couldn't hear her cry. And that was one of the real difficult things, was seeing her intubated and seeing her crying and seeing it silent. And to see that cry on her face, but it's silent because of the being intubated. So Sophie came home September 10th, and a very good friend of mine also lost her father the same day. And I often think, they both came home the same day. So it was, yeah. So from then, we knew Sophie was going to have needs. I often call him Dr. Death, but he was a neurologist, and I know whether or not it's just because he was a messenger, but it almost sent me in a panic. So once Richard was there, I sent him. We knew that she had cerebral palsy. We knew the issues were there.
Lisa Morissette is a woman on a mission. The Woodstock mother is working hard to ensure that she can provide the best care that suits the needs of her disabled daughter. And in doing that, she's reached out to the community for help. And Lisa Morissette is my guest today on the Ageless Couch. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, what made you start the funding campaign?
It's the need to have a bed bath system so that Sophie can be bathed. And in doing that, what we need is a track system to go from bed to bath. Right now, her bedroom is too far away from the bath, so she gets sponge bath, but she might get a bath maybe once a week. So it's just not working. The house isn't working, and there is nothing that we can tap into financially for help to get it. So.
What kind of help is out there regarding government or agencies for people that have children with disabilities?
I believe there is something with the government, but I think your income has to be, I'm going to say around 40,000 or under, and of course we're over that, so we couldn't tap into that. And then there was the President's Choice Children's Charities program that used to be available to families, but it's ended this year. And you used to be able to tap into, I think, a $10,000 grant at a time with them. So this is probably would have been over those grants anyway, to be able to get what we need. With Sophie getting bigger, the house isn't really accessible. Her equipment's bigger, which means it takes up more space. So it's kind of like plunking a lazy boy wherever she is.
Wow.
And then she has stuff, like stander or walker. They're at the school right now, but and there's always supplies, because there's a lot of monthly supplies that come with a kid like Sophie. Yeah.
How has that impacted your family financially?
Hugely. There's always different things that you can tap into as far as help for travel and whatnot, but it never really covers everything. And it's yeah, it's just, at one point, you know, if Richard took any time to come with us to appointments, there was no sick time or no pay. His current employer's been really good to him that way, and I know when we did the Montreal trip, they were excellent.
And these aren't trips for vacation; these are trips for medical.
No, when she went to Montreal, we were there for close to a month for the 2 surgeries. Yeah.
And the 2 surgeries were
spinal fusion. So she had anterior done, which was a 12-hour surgery on the front, and then a day of intubation, and then the next day went back in for a 12-hour surgery on the spine.
Oh my God.
I know. I can't believe her little body did it. She was
How did you sit
she was
12 hours and
I drew deep. Yeah, let's just say I probably have a deeper faith maybe than some. And I think it does make you, you know, believe more so in whether you want to say angels or faith or God or you know, certainly that's where I'm at. Yeah.
But on a overall level, it's impacted you financially probably more than people realize.
Yes, even my cutting back to part-time employment, which we really struggled with, but we were falling apart, and I knew that, and I knew something had to give, or else it was going to be me, because just with running, you know, just all the appointments, and I guess what really was coming to a head for me too was I wasn't part enough of her care. So if somebody said, well, I think this is going on, I couldn't really say otherwise because I wasn't there. I wasn't, you know, there every day because I would be working or not around as much. So now I feel like I've got more of an awareness there as far as what is going on with her, and which is, you know, you have to learn to be able to read her, because if you can't, you're going to go nowhere very fast. I know as one of our workers said, you know, Sophie's a great teacher because she teaches you to listen.
Yes.
And she teaches you to pay attention, and you know, because of her, you know, you have to really figure it out. And so it's a huge piece. Yeah.
But that led you cutting back to half time.
Yes, the only way to do that was bankruptcy, because we had to lose half my income. We had to lose half of our debt. So it meant that we kept our home, but it also meant that we're stuck because we can't remortgage, we can't sell, we can't do anything. So we're stuck here. So we got to
for a while.
For a while, that's right. And so we got to make do. So we're trying to, you know, at least make the house workable. You know, while we're here, it probably isn't big enough. And at the time when we moved here, we really didn't know Danielle was coming. And so she's been a sweet surprise, but it's kind of left the house a little shortfall for space.
That was a sacrifice you made, but in terms of deciding to go half-time, declare bankruptcy, but you're there now. How does that feel for you?
Oh, it's been wonderful. I've you know, I've been able to just being able to get a little me time, a little downtime. Being able to, you know, get her to appointments easier, or again, just being involved with her care, being able to explore things just for me, for my own well-being, you know.
Because you have to take care of you, so you can take care of her.
Exactly. So in the process of taking care of Sophie, I've been taking her to a massage therapist, and
nice.
She's been doing reflexology and Reiki on her, and I've since learned those modalities as well, and being able to have that time to you know, do that. And actually the reason I wanted to was to be able to offer her that when we were in Montreal, so it was really nice.
Nice. Yeah. So in terms of reaching out to the community, how hard was that for you?
I guess at this point it's not as hard as it has been, because in the first, if people know us, they'll know that there's been a lot of fundraising for us in the past. Probably the first time, I mean, you could hardly look at people because you just felt like crying. I mean, and this time, now that I feel like I'm more seasoned with it, I see what a gift I'm giving to those who are able to gift to Sophie. And I mean, and it's so much easier to give than it is to receive.
Yeah.
And so that was a journey on its own. And I guess it began probably even at her birth. I was thinking the other day, I know I remember Richard, because of course he was coming back and forth, and because we were at the IWK for a while, and he came, with an envelope and a card with, all our family and people putting in money, and you just bawl because to think that people are thinking that much of you, and now we have, it's members of our community that don't know us, but maybe are connected to us. And one lady I know had written that we both have a mutual friend, but she'd also connected to Sophie at the pool, and so she said the water connects us all because she knows my friend through the lake. And anyway, so it was just such a sweet way of, and that's how people, I think, they see us, and and luckily we don't need to be shut in a house today, whereas 30 years ago that's probably where we would have been.
No, wouldn't have had it out. No. The response, you talked about the response being amazing. What are we at now? Now this is Halloween morning.
Yes, we're. I looked last night, I think it was, and we were over 11,000.
Wow.
So yeah.
And you're working toward. Is it 30?
I think we have 20 on the page. We know that we probably would need more. There's a few different ways of doing what we need to do. One way is just give Sophie the upstairs and just revamp the rooms, and us move downstairs. But a lot of parents of children like Sophie are telling me don't do that because you just don't know where things are going to go. Right now maybe it's okay, but maybe it won't be in 2 years. That I might need to be closer, say, or sleep, whatever. And so the other option is to maybe build a room on, and to be able to have the space for Sophie's equipment. Like ideally, it'd be nice to have a kind of like equipment room, supply room, and then also to have the bed bath track system. Yeah.
What do you see as families like you? What's your biggest challenge for families like you?
I think I'm involved with that's the other thing. When I cut back to part-time work, I also am involved with a lot of advocacy. So I sit on the board of Navicare. I sit on a lot of different patient advocacy programs with Horizon. I think the biggest thing, and this is also coming from other parents, is the isolation. And because sometimes you're extremely isolated, we can't go anywhere, so people have to come to us. Sometimes people don't want to come to us because they find Sophie sad, and to us it's just our life.
Oh,
yeah. So I think that's probably been the biggest and probably hardest thing. Yeah.
Well, I'm coming to visit. What does Sophie do for this community? Because I know what she does for me, but what does she do for this community?
I had there was a lady that gave us a card, and I should say too that there have been some donations that have been just given to us, not just on the GoFundMe. And she'd given me a card, and she wrote some such kind words, and actually making me teary. But in saying how she admired us, I think was the word that she had said. And anyway, so I did message her back to let her know that her words, yes, the monetary value was there, but I wanted her to understand how much her words, the value that they gave me that day, because I really needed them. Sometimes we have very rough weekends. Sometimes, we don't know what's going on with Sophie, and we can't fix it. Yeah. And she could cry for hours, and we're constantly trying to fix it. And that's what our weekend was. And so anyway, so I did message her back, and she messaged me back, and she said Sophie's a very important member of our community, and I guess it struck with me because I do think she is. She she is somebody who her value's there, and and it shows with her school. It shows they're very good at accommodating her and making sure she goes swimming and things like that I'm sure not all schools would be fighting for.
No.
Yeah.
Going forward, what are Sophie's biggest challenges?
Communication is definitely one. Since Sophie's surgeries, there was a beautiful thing that came out of that. She was able to turn her head for yes and no. And so I hope we can open this up more. I don't know, where that's going to go, but of course anything with communication is extremely expensive. So my thought is if we do go over and above or beyond, if there's anything extra, that's of course where it'll go. And the other thing I think a lot of people don't realize is that the financial burden is just so ongoing, because there's just always something changing, and everything costs more. You put that it's special needs on something, and it just ups the cost, like crazy. That could be footwear, that could be like any of these bracings that we do. It could be just even clothing. And just simple things like that. But and right now we have our van, but now that we know that the President's Choice Children's Charities is gone, the van's only going to last so long. So that'll be the next thing too, and that's the only way we can get her out go anywhere with her. Whether that's church or whether that's to the park or or just different events, depending on how Sophie's doing.
What are your hopes for her future?
I guess we know that she's always going to have to be cared for. We knew that from the get-go, so we introduced care to her right away. I hope that we can have a system where she's still close to us and caregivers coming into her. I guess I feel sad when I think about there not being any school, because I don't know what that life's going to be like for her. And I think a lot of parents feel that, because all of a sudden this chunk of time is gone, and
her socialization,
right?
Would
exactly. And where does she go? What does she do? Again, these are all big things. I know that a lot of the committees and things that I sit on, because as she ages, what are you going to do? And we're not in a larger community, maybe where things might be a little better in place. Yeah.
On a personal level, what does Sophie do for your family?
She brought us together.
I thank you so much for doing this. I know it's hard, but when I see her, I don't see sadness. I see a lot of joy.
There is, and I know. Excuse me. One of the persons had written on one of the posts I made, because I always try not to make a lot of posts, because certain times I do. There's always somebody that kind of and it's like they're thinking,
it's a pity thing,
right? Exactly, and that really bothers me, because we're not. And so she had written. She said, I feel the joy, and I feel the anguish all in one moment, and that's what it's like sometimes. But there is a lot of joy. There's a lot of joy, and we've seen the little miracles and little things, and we've been blessed by that. Yeah,
and we go forward. So that means you give if you can give, and the next time we go around and you need a van, the community, I have to say, I love this place, because while you may feel like you're always asking, I think everybody is happy to give.
Again, the community is been amazing. Yeah, whether it's people that know us or connected to us or not, it's just, so that's where we're hoping this time, is that people will hear Sophie's story, and and often, I guess I've always felt that I'm tapping into my family again, or my friends again, but this time we're hoping to get that larger scale, and that people will hear her story, and again, it's a larger amount too, so to make things more workable for her. Yeah.
Thank you for talking about difficult stuff.
Yeah, thank you.
But hopefully we can up some more of the money coming in. That would be nice.
That would be wonderful, Theresa. That would be wonderful.
Thanks again.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.